Good afternoon and welcome. You are in tune to The Word here on UJIMA Radio, and we are continuing our series of featured guests with powerhouse of women, and this week it's our amazing local singer-songwriter KALA CHNG. Welcome to The Word, KALA.
Oh, hi, yeah, thanks for having me. So lovely to chat to you again.
Oh, it's been well overdue. It's been far too long since we've had you on, and I miss not having you in the station with us in real life. How's everything been going during the pandemic?
Yeah, it's been a bit up and down, like I think it has for everyone, really. Just kind of, that weird thing, isn't it, at the moment where like I just don't know how nervous or how okay to feel in like various different situations. Like planning an album release was a bit of a weird one, because anyone who remembers the kind of sort of things I've put on before is usually been some kind of mini indoor festival. But haven't done that this year because just didn't really feel that confident about everything. So
let's rewind a little bit, and the reason that we are having you on today, the main reason, is we are celebrating today the release of your album. Tell us what it's called.
So the album is called Star, based on the theme that we're all made of stardust. We all are stars with the same amazing potential, and we're all connected and part of this great big universe.
I love it. You always really have deep, conscious lyrics, and is this really important to you? And what comes first, the music or the lyrics?
Oh, sort of at the same time. You very, very rarely will I have sort of like a beat or a melody that I get in my head and then I add the lyrics in. But quite often it's like a thought or an idea that's like a line or a lyric line with a melody, and then I kind of build the lyrics and the melody further, and then I kind of add on all the music around it. So kind of all of the music, I sort of it starts to emerge in my head as I'm like writing the melody and the lyrics. So it's kind of a little bit of a journey, but probably kind of like all part of the same thought process, if that makes any sense.
It certainly does. Now, you describe yourself as a music artist, a happiness champion, I love that, a cultural ambassador, public speaker, blogger, you're a podcaster, you're a songwriter. But people, listeners who maybe haven't heard of you, how would you describe your music?
How would I describe? Well, see, I've been calling it pop with a Chinese twist. It's generally pop. It's like, it's got verse, chorus, usually 3.5 minutes, like quite typical pop structure. And I really like a lot of popular music, but it's also got a lot of influence from the fact that I love urban music. So there's definitely a lot of urban influence there. A lot of the BPMs, like the tempos that I use, are like inspired by the other music that I'm really into. I think the first song that I wrote that had like started developing my sound was called Canton Hop, and that was like, the idea was a mix of Cantonese and Chinese instruments and English hip hop. So that's sort of like how it all started. But a lot of people say that I remind them of Kate Bush. But then when I say I don't get it, I don't think I sound like Kate Bush, and they're like, oh, it's just your way. And someone once said I'm like a Chinese Lady Gaga.
Wow.
So I generally, like, when you send out press releases and you have to put like a sounds like in most press releases, I just put that. I put Kate Bush meets a Chinese Lady Gaga.
I love it. That's brilliant. So how many albums have you released now?
Oh, I think it's 8 bodies of music. So
Wow.
There's a few EPs in there. Like maybe there's 4 EPs and 4 albums, I think, off the top of my head. I should probably learn this. I have written it down somewhere. It's a lot.
You obviously, know your beans when it comes to music. You can tell that just by listening to you speak. How did your journey into music begin, and where did you learn? Where did you learn all this stuff?
So I kind of taught myself, although I did obviously do music in school, like it was as a sort of subject in school. I chose it as GCSE, but I just remember a lot of it really being about, like, you listen to some music and you've got to say, like, if it was in the Renaissance period or something. Like, it wasn't really transferable to what I do now, like most GCSEs probably. So I did performance MDQ at college alongside 3 A levels, but I just did that for fun because I wasn't allowed to kind of do anything serious, but also I didn't really like the serious side, like the theory. It gave me a bit of a headache, and I just wanted to just kind of have fun with it. But yeah, I was played tuba, euphonium, which is like a small tuba in my school orchestra. I did kind of like school plays and like school bands and stuff like that. And then yeah, as I got older, it kind of sort of got really pushed to the back for a little bit. I had my daughter, but I was always kind of feeling like something was missing in my life. And then when she got a little bit older, I sort of turned into a bedroom musician, and me and my cousin were a duo called Urban Touch, which was pop with a touch of urban. And then we used to just like write together on Wednesdays and Sundays. And then we did actually get a grant to make an album, but really sadly the studio we were working with, about 90% of the way through the album, went bust and we lost everything. Yeah, and then I went a bit like under the radar for a couple of years, and then I met a load of hip hop artists at NOS Media Centre and started singing hooks for them, and then they encouraged me to get back into music, and I just sort of really started pushing my writing after that, and they sort of dragged me along to gigs, and then I started performing my own stuff, and it just built from there really.
And for anyone who's interested in learning a little bit more about you, you have got an amazing website and you blog, and I mentioned you're a podcaster as well, and there's a really interesting blog that you talk about art and culture and who says what's good and what's worth funding, which I find really interesting as somebody who's just sort of in the last few years looked into sort of the whole thing around funding and grants and how massively complicated they are. And you talk about why ballet is funded a lot more than street dance and why that is. Can you just tell us a little bit more about that blog of yours?
Yeah, it came about because I went to this conference with Centre for Culture Value, and I was just giving like a lot of comments in the chat about the speeches and stuff, and then one of the organisers came to me and said, would you write about the sort of stuff you were talking about? And so I just thrown in some comments like that, and yeah, basically ended up writing a reflection piece on like the stuff that's like emerging in the kind of cultural sector at the moment. It has been something that's been growing, but it's stuff that I think a lot of us who do like community and cultural work for years, or are kind of like underground creatives for years, have known is that we feel really kind of disjointed and separate from the funding world, and we feel like we see what's funded out there and it doesn't feel like it represents us, and it feels like something that's kind of for a very small particular group of people with a certain background and a certain taste. And I think that is changing, but we've got a long way to go, and it's great that there is more funding being more accessible, and there's a lot more kind of roles being made even in funding bodies around kind of diversity and things like that, and supporting people to do their applications who maybe aren't, you know, experiencing that in doing things like that. But yeah, there's a long way to go still, and I do write about that, but sort of with some hope and positivity that we're going in the right direction. You know?
Well, no, it's really interesting to hear that you see that positive spin on it, because I don't at the moment. As you know, I just think if you're a grassroots organisation or your average person trying to get funding or some of these grants, it's like rocket science. You know, it's almost like a whole nother language, and it alienates so many people. And then speaking to assessors, sometimes you think, well, that's actually the point of it, because otherwise everybody's going to go for them. But you know, I just think that that's so wrong, because as you know, just by your blog, you're saying, you know, why doesn't street dance get their funding like ballet? Because there just isn't that knowledge and understanding of how it works. So I'm glad to see you've got some hope.
Yeah, we are moving in the right direction as a society, but we're only a little bit of the way there, and there is a lot further to go, you know. And I just every time I kind of meet anyone who's, you know, doing great work, I just want, you know, like, I know it's hard, but I also want them to like feel hope that there is like this, like one of the things I stand for is kind of like possibilities and positivity, but without kind of like totally disregarding like actual reality, which is a hard line.
I love it. Now, as we were saying, your album is out today, Friday the 4th of February. It's called Star. I think we should take a little break now and listen to one of the tracks off the album, which is called Love Letter. Tell us a little bit about this track.
So Love Letter was actually written on my front garden wall, and I actually was I very recently like moved from right in the middle of Knoll West to like on the outskirts just across the border in Hengrove, and I was sat on the wall like I could literally see Knoll West from my front garden, and I was just sat there looking at it, like missing it and pining over it. And I got my pad and I wrote like a love letter to it. And then I went in and I turned it into a song. So it's called Love Letter, brackets, to Knoll West. And then I kind of sort of built on the theme and kind of built it more into like the concept of a sort of breakup love song, like a goodbye love letter, basically. And I was a little bit inspired by one of my uncles he broke up with his long life partner, but they're still friends. And he told me just because we're not in love doesn't mean that the love ends. And so that sort of had a little bit of an inspiration on the song as well.
Let's take a listen to one of the tracks off KALA CHNG's brand new album out today. The album's called Star, and this is called Love Letter. You're in tune to the word here on UJIMA Radio. Here's KALA CHNG.
You're just across the street, just out of reach, but I hear your voice is gone. And oh, how I miss your face, I miss this place, but I stayed for far too long. And I know who you are, and you know me. And I loved you from afar, but still I see. Well, if we can't be lovers, then can we be friends? No under the cover, love has no ends. Well, if we can't be lovers, then can we be friends? No under the cover, love has no ends. I learned that change was good. Sometimes we should know when to move on. My heart needs time, no longer mine. But where have you gone? Distant memories feel so close to me. But everything I see, you're still a part of me. Well, if we can't be lovers, then can we be friends? No under the cover, love has no ends. Well, if we can't be lovers, then can we be friends? No under the cover, love has no ends. Oh how time goes by. Feel the changes rearranging. Oh how time goes by. Feel the changes rearranging. Well, if we can't be lovers, then can we be friends? No under the cover, love has no ends. Well, if we can't be lovers, then can we be friends? No under the cover, love has no ends.
Welcome back to the word, KALA CHNG. It's fantastic to have you. Now, you are an independent artist. Is this something that you specifically chosen a route to go down?
I'd like to say yes, but in honesty, I probably would love it if someone approached me and was interested. But I do think, I was reading an article the other day actually about the way the industry is going, and I do have more and more confidence in actually like that it isn't about chasing the big labels anymore. That that we can all make it independently. I mean, so many great acts have. So I don't think it's got quite the same kudos as it did before. But also it's quite a sad state of affairs. Like, I was reading this article the other day. The writer was basically talking about how there's not enough innovation in music, because all the people that used to kind of take risks and gambles on the new sounds and the next big things, you know, that became our icons of the past. Music doesn't work like that anymore. It's all based on kind of like just snapping up someone who's already got success. And a lot of that success is from kind of like, you know, the online marketing platforms, and how a lot of the algorithms are built around things that sound the same. So by that nature, innovation will not rise to the surface the way that it did before. And I just find that really interesting and quite scary all at the same time.
No, absolutely amazing point. You should take a listen to the last two interviews we had over the last couple of weeks. Last Friday it was with Princess Wanda, and the week before with Tanya Lacey, both very proud to be remaining as independent artists. Tanya Lacey, who was signed to one of the world's biggest record companies, and she very much decided after her hiatus to come back and remain an independent artist, to get that autonomy over her work, over her music, to be able to write what she wants, to produce the kind of music she wants. And Princess Wanda said she wants to be able to decide what she wants to wear. She wants to be able to be that brand that she wants. She doesn't want some record company telling her what to do. And lots of people have been ripped off and they've had their bad experiences. So I think now there are so many more opportunities to be a successful independent artist. And I think that autonomy that you can gain from that will see you a long way. So I wish you all the best with that. I really do. And I know that it's hard when you think, oh, I want the big bucks, but you know, I think you're heading in the right direction. But what is your dream, Kayla? If we could wave a magic wand right now, what would you like to be doing?
Okay, honest truth.
Yeah.
It's scary to say. So I want to be a timeless pop icon that is so rich that I can give millions of money to all my favourite Bristol community charities. And then to get that, so I want the reach to get the message, is the positive messages I feel like I have to say to the world and make the world a better place. And then I also want the money to give back to all the amazing communities and projects that I believe in and that have supported me and that have, you know, given me jobs or given me gigs like over the years and had me on their radio shows like UJIMA, you know. So like that would be my dream, is to be rich doing what I love and to put that richness back into the things like, you know, what we were talking about before with like culture not being funded, and I can see all the things that deserve all the money in the world, and I just want to get them that money, you know. But right now I'm doing community work and working with Fun Palaces Network, pushing that messaging forward, like that blog that I was telling you about. So it kind of does all connect. So I'm still kind of very happy at the moment doing a bit of everything, doing a bit of community, a bit of creativity, a bit of music. Yeah, so as long as I've got those things in my life, I think I'm going to be happy. But I would love to have so much money that I could just give it all away. That's what I would love.
Oh, you're an amazing, beautiful person, and you are rich in every other way than monetary. You are a wonderful, wonderful, beautiful woman, you know, and yeah, you have a rich, wonderful life. And it sometimes when you've got the money, you realize that actually it's not the money that makes you happy. So it's always, the grass is always greener, isn't it? Tell me, but don't get me wrong, I'm on the same dream as you, girlfriend. I'm on the same dream. Everyone always says that. They think it's not all about money, but unless you're skint and you can't put food on the table, trust me.
Yeah. No, it is. It's really important, and a lot of people who are, you know, there is a lot of people working in kind of the cultural work that, like, you know, like things like UJIMA Radio and like community centres and things like that, they don't, you know, it is so much about giving of amazing volunteers. And it's amazing that we all get to contribute in that way, but also, like, I feel like the money maybe should be shared a bit more fairly. That is there for culture work, because community stuff is culture. It's what we live, it's what we do, it's what we make. Do you know what I mean?
I really do. I absolutely do. And it's and you're right, you've done so much amazing community work as well. Tell us what you're doing at the moment. As Tanya Lacey, no, it was Princess Wanda said, you know, her bit of advice to other people breaking into the industry was always to have some kind of side hustle, you know, to have your own money, to be able to pay for that photographic studio or that photo session or that bit of studio time. You know, you always need that side hustle. So what else is going on in your life at the moment?
I've also been doing quite a few voiceovers.
Wow.
So yeah, I mean, I would like to call myself a voice artist, but that's a lie, because that means you can do other accents, and the only one I can do is my own, which is Bristolian. So that's my little niche specialism. So any other Bristol companies out there, there's been quite a few lately that I've been doing voiceover work for. That's been really fun, and it's using my voice, which is kind of funny. But I also then have to be careful because obviously I got arrested for the singing as well. Yeah, so that's I would call that my side hustle for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And also, like, yeah, there's been quite a few bits of freelance. I just think my freelance has picked up. Yeah, like last year I was working with and alongside Bristol Museum for the Lunar New Year that was online, whereas this year I'm performing at it. I haven't been involved in running it. Yeah, this year I'm performing on Sunday, which is great, and I'll be at Philwood Community Centre on Saturday at 1. Sadly, the museum gig on Sunday has sold out, so yeah, if you did want to
sadly, that's amazing.
I mean, it's great, but it's but it means anyone who's listening who hasn't got a ticket can go. So if you want a little mini dash of sort of Chinese and East Asian celebration, Philwood Community Market this Saturday. It's usually outside, but it's going to be indoors because obviously it's February, it's a bit cold. So on the hall, we're going to have a couple of hours of kind of like dance and music and workshops and stuff between 12 and 2. So I'll be on at 1 o'clock on Saturday. So there's something to do if because that one's, you know, the Sunday one's sold out. And then I will also be doing a little live listen party Q&A celebration thing tonight, which I'm a little bit nervous about and a little bit excited about as well.
It sounds amazing. You're so busy. I can't believe where the time's gone, because I could literally talk to you all day. What I did want to ask, be amiss of me not to talk to you, as it's continuing the series over the last few weeks as a woman in the music industry. What kind of, if any, barriers have you faced, do you think, as a woman working in the music business?
So I don't know. I don't think this is necessarily a general woman thing, but it kind of is related to me being a woman. Is that when I had my daughter young, and I feel like that affected the fact that I didn't really pick up music for, you know, till she was a bit older. And then I came back into that world. So I was mainly a sort of bedroom dabbler, like during her young years, and really my focus was on her. But what I found is, like, after I'd had her and like after I'd brought her up a lot more and I was able to kind of get out and do stuff, I don't know, I just felt like there's a lot of ageism around, especially with women, but just in general around musicians actually. And like, if you're of a certain age, like, why haven't you got so far already? And I think that's really hard if you've had a child young, because you want to focus your attention on that. But no other career could I think of that it's not okay to come into, like, after raising a child. Like, I don't really understand why that's there, but I did definitely feel that, because I'm like quite sure of what I want and how I like things, and I don't think I'm ever rude, but like I think people throw around like the word diva at women too much when they just actually won't stand for certain things. Like, we don't always want to just be portrayed as like young and sexy. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, that's not what it's about. Why can't it just be about our music and our art?
Can so relate. As a single mum, you know, I think about where I would have been now if I hadn't had those 10 years out of my career, where I would have continued. I would never change anything for anything in the world. But that, you know, as an older woman returning into the industry, where on earth do I fit in now? You know, as an older woman on the radio, and then also in the music industry, look at the articles we've had out recently about the majority of music being played on the radio being male artists. It's, you know, we are still, unfortunately, an incredibly gender unequal country and unfortunately world, and we still have a really long way to go. If you have any advice for anybody, you know, any gender breaking into the music biz, what would it be?
To just focus on what you love doing and do that, and just know that, like, nothing's going to be perfect straight away, but if every time you do something it's better than the time before, all you can do is compare yourself to yourself, and all you can do is compare your new song to your last song, and that you're just self-improving, and really just stick to your guns about your style and like what you want, because like that's not being like diva, that like if whatever the male version of diva is as well, like that's just knowing like who you are and what you represent and what you're about. So never let anyone kind of try and shape you or mold you. And I think that's what like Tanya Lacey was talking about, because I did listen into that interview and I think it was brilliant, and I've heard her speak before. Yeah, and also just to like let go of that thing of like, oh, I need a manager, or I need this, or I need that. Just enjoy doing it and doing what you love. Like when you do what you love and you follow your bliss and you just focus on the love and what you're doing and don't worry about anyone else, like good things come. That's what happens. It's when we stress and focus on our mistakes, or when we're criticizing ourselves or worrying about someone else getting something that we wanted, you know, we get in a negative headspace, and it just, you know, it can only bring about negative things. So yeah, just stay positive, stay you, and just be the best version that you can be, and be the better version of yourself than you were the day before.
KALA CHNG, it's an absolute privilege to hear you speak on the show. Let's wrap up by reminding our listeners about your album, how they can get it, what's it's called, and all of that jazz.
Yeah, so you can find me anywhere just by searching my name spelled KALA space and then CHNG, so KALA CHNG. And the new album is called Star. It will be on all the usual music platforms. But if you want someone to give you a hand, I've already created a page where all the info is there ready for you. So just go to KALA CHNG, spelled KALACHNG.com/star, and all the info will be there.
KALA, let's finish by listening to the first single off your album. Would you like to introduce it for us?
This song is called Blind, and it's about the ripple effects of the Colston statue coming down.
KALA CHNG live here on UJIMA Radio. Thank you so much for joining us, and have a wicked weekend.
Yeah, thank you, you too, and everyone else.